Yes, hi guys. Um, the mischief got into the recording. The I had recorded 40 minutes worth with cards and decks and all the all the interesting summaries of what had been happening. And for some reason, there was a point where I had to cough for a bit, so I paused the recording, which had worked fine for the ink mushrooms video just now. And for some reason, that was 12 minutes in. Once I pressed, resume again, it kind of got hung up in between, and the sound didn't match the visuals anymore. So I thought that was so impossible to watch, especially with me showing cards, going like this, blah and blah, and so on and so forth. When it's actually 2 minutes or something, the sound and the visual are off. So I'm showing this card and I'm talking about the other one. That's never going to work. So after a bit of hesitating and he and hawing about that, I just removed the whole thing again, and I'll just have to somehow convey to you, preferably a bit quicker, what it was that I really, really had to say. And also, what I'm left with is an impression. Sometimes there's like this, there's quite a strong emotion attached to these interactions that I have with this foster mother of mine. And I'm getting quite the strong impression that there's just an imbalance. There's a terrible lack of integration still. Even when I just say that word, integration, I have a catch in my throat. So maybe it doesn't mean anything. Maybe it's just coincidence, But card slingers don't believe in, or intuitive people don't believe in coincidence. So what am I gonna do? I suppose it doesn't really have all that much meaning for me to dig up all the cards. I can because I wrote them down, and the spread of the AAA acceptance spread, which was the challenge, right? I had 6 decks out and 3 cards of each, and it all boiled down to what did it boil down to? A process where in the end I am not striving so hard to be in balance, and I allow, this is the card, yes, the 4 of Cups. I'm just going to dig out a couple of cards here that I think are, this is the Voyager Tarot, 4 of Cups. It's called Anger. So maybe I am upset. Maybe I am upset that I could have had a much better, or at least a much easier life, which is something that appeals to me. If I had stayed with that family, if I had never seen my mum again. It hurts. What can I say? My mother was a really difficult person to love. And I remember when I was like an adolescent, 14, 15, 16 years old, that I kind of realized that I wasn't able to love her. I couldn't feel any affection for her. And most of my life I have spent in utter terror of her. Because I've always felt there was this big, horrible atomic cloud, this fallout around her that I had to live within. Other people would have run away, would have been, independent very early on, would have made moves to make friends elsewhere, and I didn't do any of it. I was her servant. So yeah, maybe I'm very slowly starting to not feel okay about that. After you know, after this failed session, it's not such a big deal. It's not like I could reconstruct it for you guys if I thought it was all that important. And I was, you know, having fun with exploring the different types of deck and the Sassurabito versus the Greenwood versus the wooden tarot. I was using them, and it was a lot of fun, really. But just now, when I realized that I had to, you know, still do a follow-up of some sort, I took out the Marielle, of course. And it says here, King of Wands. The King of Wands was the only card of the tarot decks that I use in my 6 deck spread just now that occurred twice. There were a couple of 4s, but there were 4s of different elements and all that. And otherwise, they were basically all different cards. The King of Wands was in there twice, and here he is again. And the other card is Strength, right there. So that convinced me, kind of, that I needed to make at least another attempt to face this issue, to express whatever it is that's around these histories for me. And I had like I said, I had the second long phone talk with my foster mother yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yes, today's Tuesday, and yesterday was when I called her back. She had tried to contact me last week, and she had put a message in my voicemail. And it turns out she was a bit worried about how I would respond and all that. And I have a very strong sensation of the discrepancy between those two women. They were at odds. Everybody was trying to own my ass when I was 6-7 years old. I had no voice in the matter. Nobody asked me anything. And I have tried again and again to justify, a very important bit for me in this whole process and putting everything on the tube and sharing things and all that, is that if I accept the soul retrieval experiences, that whole thread over there, as fact, what that does is it absolves my mother of some of that responsibility of causing me to be imprisoned, to be defined according to her rather strict and rather, what comes to mind is unnatural principles of life, all the antagonism that she and my father carried within them, which reduced me to a simple pawn in their lives, which is not what my mother expressed that she wanted. She tried to protect me, she tried to look after me, and all the rest of it. And she failed because she couldn't protect me from herself. And she was a woman in too much pain. So I've lost the beginning of my sentence here. There's an enormous discrepancy between those two women, and now I don't want to have to choose between either of them. The only thing I can do is choose for myself, choose my own existence. That's what I was saying. If I believe in the soul retrieval events, the way they happened, the way I experienced them, the way they felt, that absolves my mother. It removes some of the responsibility. It removes some of the madness from my life, which is what I want. Because I don't, as much as I am a huge fan of personal sovereignty, you cannot blame everybody for this type of thing, for the way things were, the way I was shut in. And so it's not so easy. And maybe the death card that I had in the Sacrobito part of the spread has to do with this, with like, it's like, say goodbye to all those scenarios, all those links. Maybe they're not even there. Maybe it's just the body that has those links. How else am I supposed to talk to you guys if not about and through the body and the history and the genes and all the rest of it? It's about who is right and who is wrong. And I don't like people being hurt. When people are hurt or hurting, you tend to want to protect them. You tend to want to shield them in some way. I cannot shield my mother. I've never done it. I've never succeeded. I've tried all my life. I've tried to explain away the things that she did. And yeah, you can tell, right, that I am this close to I will have to start talking again from a new premise. I can't just present things as if they're just information. I most definitely do not want this channel to be about my mother's perspective. I don't want it to be about my father's perspective. I don't even really want it to be 100% about my perspective, because I want things to be open and a lot less defined. That's, if there's one thing I've learned, it's that we never know the whole story. I think I'm going to leave it at that. It'll be a bit intense to watch, I'm afraid. I'll come out of this. I always do. So I'll be talking to you soon, guys. Thank you very much for being here.